There's nothing to prove, so stop trying to. A big thing that gets a lot of people messed up in the head is trying to prove someone right, trying to prove someone wrong. Instead, just focus on improving yourself. What am I even talking about? This is more of a mindset matter, more of an approach to how you do things that I think will get you out of such a sympathetic nervous state and more into a parasympathetic nervous state. What am I even talking about? I'm saying you'll be more relaxed, more confident in your approach to how you do things. And to understand that confidence is not just like a feeling, it's not an emotion that runs through you. But that's another video that I will be making soon. But what I'm saying is, if you're too focused on trying to prove someone wrong, you start using what is called a wrong effort. And a wrong effort and a right effort is something I learned from a guy called George Mumford. He used to train athletes like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. He's worked with Charles Barkley and plenty of other athletes. He's worked with pro tennis players. But he talks about this concept of right effort. And right effort and wrong effort, he makes a distinction between the two. He says that wrong effort is basically trying too hard, doing too much, overexerting, pushing in an unnecessary manner. And where right effort is a consistent, deliberate advancement of effort that you put into something. Dang fly, get up out of here, man. A right effort is a consistent progress or consistent push in the direction that you want to go. Try not to use the word in the definition because then you don't learn nothing. You know what I'm saying? I was in this schoolhouse. This is a little break, but I was in this schoolhouse where I was learning, and they be giving this definition of words, and they'll use the word they're defining in the definition. Like, yo, I ain't even learned nothing. But back to the point. There's a right and a wrong effort. And with this, you have to understand that when you're trying to prove yourself, it's easy to get caught up in exerting wrong effort versus right effort. You always want to be in a state of improving. You want to remember that you can always get better. And I'm sure everyone understands this, but they go about it the wrong way where they're not learning what they're good at, what they're weak at, how they can improve, how they can take advantage of what they are good and weak at, and how they can use it to their benefit. Instead, they pick one certain aspect of what they're trying to improve at, and they'll hammer that into the ground despite negative returns. What does that mean? Well, in performance, there's like fatigue, and I know with sprinting, they've done a lot of research that, you really need to only sprint 2 to 3 times a week. Shouldn't be doing max effort sprints every single day. That's not helping you. You're only getting negative returns. That would be an example of wrong effort. Going out there 7 days a week, going balls to the wall, sprinting as hard as you can, coming back to the weight room, and trying to lift every weight imaginable. That's an example of wrong effort. And being honest, that is what I thought was what you're supposed to do. You hear a lot of things from hustle and grind culture that tells you, yeah, you got to go 100%. And which is true, you do have to go 100% every day. But I think where it gets lost in translation is what 100% really is. There is a strategic method to progressing and advancing at your goals and doing the right things necessary. I'll tell you this, when you're always trying to prove someone wrong, you're also taking the power out of your own hands. What does that mean? So when I was first playing ball and I went to college, I got the opportunity to play college ball. The only thing on my mind was proving everyone right. I was not one of those guys who was hated on as young. Everybody let us say, no one ever believed in me. That was not my scenario. They knew I was gonna be great. They knew I was gonna be something. I had that glow since a youngin'. You feel me? But yeah, but seriously though, like since I was a kid, like I've always known like sky's the limit for me. I could do anything. But I got to college, that's really where I learned that, oh, I have to be confident in myself, because it was the first time people weren't telling me, oh my goodness, you're great, you're awesome every single time I did anything. I've always been a humble person. I don't think I'm God's gift to earth. I'm one of them, but but I'm not his only gift to earth. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm playing, but you know, I didn't have like some sort of complex, but I was just not accustomed to not being told when I was doing something good. This led me to exude a lot of wrong effort. We had tough workouts in season, but then I would come back and do a 2 a day, sometimes a triple a day, unnecessarily. And I was neglecting other things that were important, like my schoolwork, so I could get the grind in. I would come back and do like 2 hour footwork sessions, just repeating the same drills over and over and over again. And did I see some progress? Yes, but the returns were diminishing over time. I was not recovering as fast as I needed to. I was getting less sleep, which means my body was not able to take the food that I was eating and make me bigger and stronger. I wasn't able to run faster. I was actually getting more. I was getting deconditioned, even though I was training more. You'd think I would get more conditioned, but because my body never actually got a chance to rest, I never was able to progress. And it only led me farther and farther down a hole in my mind where I was frantic. I was always frustrated. I was always angry because I was not seeing the results I wanted. Now, fast forward one summer, I'm taking a lot more mature approach, I'll call it. A veteran's approach, you could say. And I'm still doing extra, never not chilling, but I'm taking a much more technical approach. I'm not just diving in, going hard, going AWOL, crazy, just doing it just to say I did it and I did it hard. I'm focused more on the technique of what I'm doing. I'm understanding why I'm even doing it. I'm paying more attention to the fundamentals of how I can do it efficiently and how it works. I'm understanding when and how and why to take advantage of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to learn. I hope that can make sense. So, for example, I've talked about catching on here, and I've also talked about my footwork. So when I was learning my footwork, I was doing it hard all the time, and my hips were tight. It was only making my hips tighter. I was like, why aren't my hips fluid? Because I never rested. But now I learned how to strengthen my hips. I learned how to stretch my hips. I learned when and how to use rhythm in my footwork to get the results I wanted. I can make people move because I know how to go from slow to fast, back to slow. I know how to stay fast, stop, and back fast. I know how to deceive and make it look like I'm moving slow, but I'm still moving fast. These are all things I had to learn by actually practicing. Being creative, of course. I had to be creative, but it wasn't just going in and just doing a whole bunch of drills hard all the time. I had to stop. I had to learn. I had to stop. I had to listen. I had to practice, learn, try different things. I took a much more creative approach, and I'm not saying that there's not a time to put your head down and grind. Because at the end of the day, that's what you got to do. You do have to put your head down. You do got to bust. You do got to grind. You got to go hard. Point blank, period. But there's definitely a more methodical and correct way to approach that than just breaking yourself down or breaking your mind down, because it doesn't just stop at sports. This applies also if you're in business. This applies also with your family. Like, you're not just going to be grilling people all the time, asking them questions, but never letting anyone get to know and learn you. Or just learning a bunch of facts about a person just to say you know them, but you don't understand them. You read a bunch of books and you got all this knowledge, but you don't really know how to implement this knowledge into what you're doing. Does that make sense? Like, you have to understand that when you come from this mindset of proving people, you've already lost your confidence. Instead, focus on improving yourself. Fall in love with the process of getting better. Fall in love with the process of moving incrementally up and up and up. Fall in love with the process of being bad. You have to learn to love to be trash at something, and learn how to love being mediocre at it. Then learn how to love being great at it. Because that's the only way to progress. If you're constantly trying to prove people wrong, you're gonna hurt yourself physically or mentally, because you'll be stuck in a psychosis trying to prove people wrong who honestly don't even care. The people I was trying to prove right, don't worry. I know you believe in me. I got you. A lot of them I don't talk to like that. I don't even talk to a lot of them anymore. Once I moved to more of a position of, I just love working. I saw myself getting better faster, and I wasn't even paying that much attention to the results as I was to the process. But it was night and day in the way I played and performed. You could see it. You could see it in the way I played and I performed. Because once you start trying to prove yourself, you start doing things that are out of your character. It's funny how, you know, they say like, oh, the ball's in your court, you know, but that's real. You're creating false pressures. And once you've created these false pressures, you've bought into false narratives. Once you've bought into false narratives, you're telling a story to yourself that's not even true. Like, you know, they always say that there's a game inside the game. And that's why these guys, you know, they talk trash on the court, they talk trash on the field, because yes, this is a team sport, but there's still a one-on-one element. Like, you got to beat me, and I know I'm going to beat you. But that's a mindset you got to have. But it's not like a bravado thing. It's just matter of fact that you know, because I'm committed to my process. I'm committed to doing what it is I came here to do. I'm committed to getting better. I'm committed to learning how to do it the right way. It's fine if I fail, because in my failure, I'll learn. In my failure, I'll find my progress. And that's a big thing. People get caught up in trying to prove people wrong or trying to prove people right instead of just trying to improve themselves. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay consistent, stay grinding, and stay blessed.